I think out of anyone I've ever met, you've had the most interesting side quests in Japan. I think. The stories you've told me.
Yeah, I've had. Well, I mentioned you need to supplement your income. So
if you had, I mean, you can surely tell some of the stories. They don't. If this was in a movie, some of the stuff that you got up to in Japan, everyone would be like, "This is the stupidest movie ever made."
It would be. It would be the stupidest movie ever made.
This doesn't make any sense. Why would anyone do this?
I mean, I've had so many random jobs. My first one that I can remember doing, I worked for NHK for a while. That was kind of cool.
How did that all come about?
So I found an advertisement, or someone told me that it's an open call, and it's a show where they have like 8 to 10 foreigners, and they're all from different countries, and they say like, today's theme is something Japanese. It could be like bentos, and then they send 3 of the foreigners out on location somewhere, and they experience a different kind of bento. Maybe this is the most expensive one. Maybe this is the most beautiful one.
Right.
And then we talk about like bentos in America, dude, would never work because there's no burgers. And you're like, okay.
Valid.
Yeah. And then, but like, it was tough because you had to represent the entire nation.
Right.
So
Of America.
That's overwhelming power. And so I get to say all the opinions and then be like, well, if they're right or wrong, it doesn't matter. But you had to be very careful. You just say things like, as far as I know, bone in is best. And then you'd have like a thing. I'm just saying as an example.
Tell me how you really feel.
Bone in is best.
Oh,
but like,
that's what I'm talking about.
Finally, someone on the podcast that agrees with me.
I just can't believe it took this long. But yes, that's all of America's opinion. Don't worry. On behalf of me. So,
I would know. I worked at the NHK.
So it was that kind of job was cool because they gave you, a couple $100 a month and you get to be on TV. And since I was a theater background, it did keep me connected with like, oh, this is exciting. This is
performing.
Performing, entertainment.
Yeah. I didn't hang my hat on it thinking like, I've made it, but like it was a cool thing. And then I got to be an extra in a movie in Japan, which was awesome. It was called Vancouver no Asahi. And it was a baseball movie. And
The Sunrise of Vancouver.
The Sunrise of Vancouver. And it was like it was set in like 1920. And I was like, I went to the costume thing because we went out some field in the middle of God knows where, Saitama or something. And they were like, Peter Davis? And I was like, Macy? And they were like, okay. I was like, all right, that'll work. And then he was like, I was like the last guy. And they were like, well, all we have is like a medium and you're more of an L. And I was like, oh, so like the jacket like didn't fit and it like scrunched on. I looked like homeless. And so I was like, no, I'll give my character like like some backstory. And I'll give him like a name, and his name was Chester Flint. It was a cool name. But and then I was getting into it, and I decided all of my scenes took place at like a bar. Yeah. So I just always made sure that anytime they said action, I was like the lowest one on the table, kind of like barely just like drinking as much as. And if ever there was food placed in front of me, Chester always needed like a little bit of, because he didn't know his next meal was coming. So I had like the best night ever for like 2 days. I got to eat and drink for free. Although it wasn't beer, it was like just flavored water. But I went all in on that character, and I thought, I think I've got a real career here. No, I did not. But like that was still cool because I got money for it.
Yeah, hell yeah.
And right as I was coming back from that, I had booked with an agency somehow, and they said, we have this audition for you to be a model for a furniture company called Okamura.
Okay,
and that's a legit furniture company. I was like, yeah, it sounds cool, man. And I go there, and again, just like the baseball film, they had the wrong name. They were like, are you the cameraman? And I was like, no, I don't have any equipment. And they're like, fuck it, you're in. And it was me and about 35 French models who were like 6'2" and jacked. Like, I'm talking perfect bodies. And I was like, all right, this is so bad. This is so awkward. And we had a group audition. And I was like the last guy in this and there was 4 of us in our group. It was 3 French guys and me. And we had to go up to like the top where the Okamura, sales presidents were waiting. And I remember the French guy didn't hold the door open for me. It kind of like slammed into my foot, and then I knocked over this plant and this dirt went everywhere. And I was like, I'm so sorry. And they're like, it's okay. And I was like, I'm starting to feel nervous. I'm starting to feel like, I don't think I look right for this job. I feel like it's all bad. And we sit on these stools, and they said, just introduce yourself. And the French guys were like in perfect Japanese. They were just like saying like, I've been modeling for 6 years. I've worked with, Gucci and Prada and all these things. And then they get to me and I'm like, hi, I like hamburgers and baseball. And I was in a movie recently called, it's not out yet, and then they were like, okay, this guy, and the sales staff is kind of watching me and taking a note, and they're like, why is he here? And I was like, okay, you got this, man. Just, keep being funny, keep being you.
Yeah.
And they were like, now we just want to see you guys talk to each other, and you can have like a moment where we're just seeing you guys move naturally through the thing. And I was like, okay. So I turned to talk to the guy, and he immediately starts talking to like his French buddies, like just the three of them. And I was like, je m'appelle Pierre. I took French a little bit, and I was like, and then they kind of just totally ignored me.
Yeah.
And I turned back, and I was looking at the sales staff, and I was like, I'm sorry, man. I don't think I'm actually supposed to be here. And he was like, you said you like baseball. And I was like, yes, I do. He was like, what team do you like? And I was like, the Yakult Swallows. They're kind of a fun team because they've got the umbrellas. He was like, that's my favorite team. And so we started talking. And I ended up getting the job to be a model for Okamura.
Hell yeah.
So I was so
Fuck those
excited.
French
I was
guys.
like, fuck you guys. I was, and they must have gone back to Gucci and Prada with their. So
I can't believe we missed Okamura.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to Louis Vuitton.
Yeah. And the thing was, we had to take a Shinkansen from Osaka. It was my first time taking a Shinkansen. I was so nervous. I could not even sleep the night before, right? I was just like.
Of what?
Modeling?
I
mean, look.
I thought of the Shinkansen. I thought you meant the train.
I thought you meant the train.
I was like, damn, is the train that's
No. But like, I was so nervous about this opportunity because it paid a fair amount of money. And I was like, oh my God, why am I modeling? I was like, what possible reason would they choose? And I go there, and it's like this really beautiful woman and like this really handsome guy, and then I'm there as well. And they were like, your clothes are over here. And it was like this really tight yellow polo that was kind of see-through. And you could see like my belly button, and I was like feeling like, oh fuck, this is so awkward. And I walk out there with like my chinos and shirt, and they're like, oh, we might need to do some changing of the shirts. And I was like, yeah, it's fine though. And they were like, is that how you like your hair? And I was like, I don't know. I'm like, so I realized in almost every scene that I was in, I was either at the back, and they always instructed me that like I couldn't get the fax machine to work, or I'm walking past like a window with like dropping folders. And so all of my character was like, Okamura hires idiots too. And I was like, well, do I have like a cool part where I'm like at the the office chair, and I'm like, I have like a cigar, and I'm doing like a business deal, and they're like, no, that's these guys. You're gonna be like serving coffee, or you spilled it on yourself. And I was like, damn, this is fun. So I had to take that, and I parlayed that into a job where I was a model, second modeling gig, where this one was for a punching bag. So you can buy that at Don Quixote. It was I still have a
like the blow up ones.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was on that one, and I'm like,
Wait, you were on the box?
yeah, it's great.
Shit.
Yeah, I'll bring it here. You guys can put that on the floor.
Yeah.
At the very bottom. But so like that one was cool because they brought this girl from like the Ukraine, and she was like absolutely the most beautiful person I've ever seen. And she was like, I have 200 jobs in 3 days. Let's make it quick. And I was like, wow, this is so sick. I'm like a real deal. And they were like, all right, so you're going to be like, holding her back as she's like aggressively punching this bag. And she felt really uncomfortable. Like, not because of me, I hope, but she was like, don't touch me. And I'm like, I don't know. But they said, she's really not getting the look. Can you go in there and just gesticulate like her job so she can see what it looked? And I was like, yeah, that's fine. So I got to do like 2 jobs for once. And then when we finally got it, I gotta say the final product, she looks great. I look really stupid, but they combed my hair like super to the side, and
I need to see this picture. Dude.
yeah, it's like 4 different images on the box, and my students would find it at Don Quixote, and they'd be like, Pito Sensei? And I was like, no, Zenzen Shigao. I don't know that man. And it was.
I'm Petter.
I don't know who Peter is. Yeah.
I don't know who Peter is.
Then
Ask me that Petter we've been seeing so much about.
it was tough.